This is what your athletes should be thinking about before a tournament or a dual meet. I recommend tapping into the positive emotions, not the negative. What happens is it depends on what your default is, right? So I just bumped into a lady at the gas station, and she was talking about she hates the cold, and I'm like, oh, I love the cold, and I actually do. Now, wouldn't want to live in Antarctica for 20 years, but for me, I love the cold air. I love to breathe it in. It's kind of invigorating, right? And sure, we all get tired of everything, but I love the heat. I love the fall. I really am a person who loves all 4 seasons. That's why I love Missouri. But see, if I, by default, walked outside and all I thought about was how cold the weather was on my skin, I would hate it. But by default, I like how invigorating the cold makes me feel, right? Well, I think by default, some of us as athletes, we go into kind of a worry mode, right? By default, some of us go into, man, this is exciting. This is competition. They absorb different parts. They both exist. When I go outside, I feel the cold air on my skin, and and she probably feels invigorated, but she focuses on something and I focus on something by default. But I think we can change that, can't we? So by default, as an athlete, if I think about the scary things that can happen and the worry, I'm going to struggle. By default, if my natural instinct is to say, I love competition, I love the whistles, here I go again, you can feel the competitive energy in the air, right? And it's like the cold air I feel. How do you interpret that? So I think we can change it though. So by default, if you get excited and say, man, I love wrestling, I love the competition, I love the nerves I have, I love the atmosphere, right? You're fine. You can turn this video off. If by default you go into worry mode, I would like you to tune in to the other side, because they both exist in a tournament. The energy is real. You can almost grab it and like squeeze it, move it. Its energy is there. There's positive and negative energy at a tournament. And I'm asking you as an athlete to ask yourself, do I go into worry mode or do I get excited? I know a great wrestler. He was an Olympic alternate twice. Kind of sucked. I used to compete against him in college a lot. Eric Aiken, right? I've known Eric since we were little kids. So Eric was also a 2-time NCAA runner-up, 4-time All-American, had an awesome career, right? So I asked Eric, one of my camps years ago, he did a camp for me, and I'm like, dude, how are you always such a steady performer? Because I always remember competing against him, I was like, he'll have a great match. I remember him since he was a kid, right? And he said, this is what I do. Before a big match, and he talked about his Olympic trials match, which he ended up losing. He said, I lost, but I wrestled awesome. He goes, I know when I go up on that stage, my parents are going to be nervous, and I'm going to be nervous, and I think about that, and it gets me excited, and how I get to run up on the stage, and thousands of people are going to watch, and how much is on the line, and my opponent and I really don't like each other, and I know he's like a powerful guy, and he's going to pull on me and push me, and he's going to hit me, and I look forward to him hitting me and beating me up, and I'm going to beat him up back, and I look forward to turning him and getting to his legs. He said, because I was scared out of my wits, he said, but within 30 seconds, I changed everything, right? And that's something you have to be aware of. You have to actively do. It's like actively turning on the car, actively turning a doorknob so it will open. You actively turn on the competitive side of wrestling that is enjoyable. People say, well, just don't think about it. Just pretend you're at practice if a kid's falling apart emotionally. No, you have to replace those thoughts. So we like to say, think about this, don't think about that. Think about this, baseball's fun. Think about that, baseball sucks. If a baseball player is thinking about getting hit in the head, people will die in baseball, right? If you get hit in the face and it crushes your jaw, and you're thinking about, holy cow, this guy throws fast, you know? Or maybe you got hit in the elbow and you fractured your elbow in baseball. That's the reason it's hard to come back sometimes after an injury, because you're thinking about that, and it's normal, right? But people who say, hit me in the elbow, you're gonna make me mad, I'm gonna crush 5 home runs or whatever, right? They kind of turn it, they flip the switch. But if you're thinking about getting hit in the elbow and getting your elbow fractured, you're gonna be a terrible baseball player. If you think about crushing home runs and line drives and hitting a line drive at the pitcher and crushing his elbow, well, you probably won't think about that. It's not very nice. But you get the idea. And think about being famous, crushing home runs, crushing singles, line drives, sliding in the home, having my parents cheer, right? The sound of the crack of the bat, how my grip, how I can feel the power, rotate through my arms and into the ball. It's exciting. Really get kind of into this. You want to tap into the emotions, because what we're doing is we're tapping into the thoughts that changes our emotions. So if you struggle and your default mechanism is differently, you need to actively think about this and actively say, hey, I'm going to think about what I love about competition, and it's going to take some time, and you're going to do it and it's not going to work, and you're going to do it and you're going to wrestle. You might not wrestle great, you might even lose matches. But the first time the girl walked on the balance beam, she fell off. Now she's got an Olympic medal. She jumped back on the balance beam. I'm asking you to give this maybe 3 months. Some of you might say, holy Christ, it didn't take 3 months. I felt amazing. I feel amazing today in my tournament after I watched your video. Well, good for you. But what happens is something doesn't work the first time and we say, that didn't work for me. That's a career killer, because the first time the girl tried to walk the balance beam, it didn't work either. So I'm asking you to totally dedicate yourself to changing your emotions. And you don't have to be perfect and amazing. Eric felt amazing. He was 28 years old. He's been doing this since he was a kid, I'm sure. But as long as you feel better, don't focus on, well, I felt 20% better, but there was 80% work to do. Don't focus on the 80%. You're thinking about getting crushed in the elbow with a baseball, dummy. I'm telling you, don't do that. Focus on the 20% improvement that you felt. Next practice is going to be 30%. 3 months from now, maybe less, you're going to feel amazing. Are you going to win the Olympics? You probably won't. Are you going to win state titles? You might. But at least when the smoke settles, you're going to be happy and say, man, I was a great wrestler. Even when you lose matches, you're going to say, I feel good about my loss. I love wrestling, right? So, the thing is, we're always looking for guarantees to success. Kyle Schneider said on Instagram, I have zero fear of the unknown. That some bitch has got it figured out, right? I don't care. I don't think about the unknown. I used to. Personally, I used to. Bad. And I know some of you do. So that's the thing. There is no guarantee, but I'm telling you. So instead of just focusing on your win-loss record, Focus on how you feel. So if I feel amazing after my match, like Eric felt after his matches, I can count that as a win, right? Because you can win a match and do it terribly and feel terrible about it. I'm asking you, yes, keep track of your win-loss record, but also keep track of, you know, I want to make sure that I'm completely enjoying my journey in this sport and focus on that side of it much more than the other. Good luck.